Well, I am very pleased to compete with Mark's keynote. It may not be quite as dynamic, but maybe just as informational. We'll see, right? So what I learned from the opening session is that there's a little bit of awareness building that we can do potentially with NTT. So just to introduce myself, I'm Paul Bruni, and I'm a director in the financial services and insurance space. So I work with a number of our financial services clients and insurance clients based in the central region. Through that, we've been engaging with them in terms of really three different areas in the customer centricity transformation. And I want to describe to you how we engage, where we start, and where we continue to provide services to customers in that space. So, a little bit of a background in terms of NTT and the industry. Since you're not extremely familiar with NTT, I wanted to provide a little bit of a level set. So, Jody did a great job of doing that, but everyone's surprised to hear that we work with 100 insurance clients. We work with 88% of the Fortune 100 financial services companies. So we have a fairly impressive client list, and most of our engagements are pervasive. So we will be addressing or supporting legacy systems. We'll be participating in some of the transformational initiatives. And one key transformational initiative we always seem to have a part in is the transformation to customer centricity. I know it's a buzzword at this point, but it means different things to different customers, right? And you'd be surprised how many different variations we see typically in the financial services and insurance space. So just to kind of provide a framework for our discussion today, if you look at stage one, it's about defining what that means to each individual organization. And we have a strong team that's been doing that, working with Chief Customer Experience Officers, of which many of you might be a part of that organization or have that within your organization, as well as the IT groups and the marketing groups, and getting a clear definition of the steps that need to be taken, and then the solutions that can be addressed, so that not necessarily we putting the cart before the horse in terms of adopting solutions and then determining what the ROI is going to be. So we have a lot of capability in terms of advisory services, particularly in the financial services and insurance space. And then the solution adoption piece is really all about implementation time when you've decided what the platform of choice is, and most of the cases it will be Salesforce, right? And then ongoing support and innovation, because that's important, getting the most out of that investment. So some of the key drivers in the industry itself. There are non-traditional competitive threats. Walmart's out, and really posing a different kind of threat to traditional insurers, financial services companies alike. The continuous problem of customer and profit erosion. In the insurance industry, policyholders are going to churn, every year. That's how it works, and you have to double your efforts to bring new ones in as well. The digital channel adoption, everyone knows about that. Customers are choosing to perform their transactions, get advisory services in multiple different ways across multiple different channels, and that's a very big challenge to address. And then, of course, you're all here as well because of the channel enablement and agent enablement. It's becoming very simple these days. I wouldn't say overly simple, but easier to adopt and roll out than it ever was before. Now, you look at the compliance angle, and there's really no negotiating that. You have to be more transparent with your customers. You need to be more engaging. You need to track customer service issues. Regulatory bodies are mandating that. So, because of that, these are necessary investments that customers are making. And then when you think about the core processes that support your customers in the insurance space, whether it be the claims, underwriting, billing piece, those have to support the agenda that you have as an organization, whether it be from a turnaround time perspective, whether it be from a compliance perspective, but they have to be customer-centric processes. So, what's I mean? The IT groups are sometimes playing a catch-up game, because the fact is that, it's easier than ever before to adopt these solutions. the total cost of ownership is important, and making sure you get the most out of those investments, and then being an innovator for the business objectives that are defined. So just to show you, that we do a fair amount of work in the advisory space, and we typically see 4 kind of key elements of any customer centricity program. They take on different shapes and views when you ultimately implement them. But when we go in and we define and we provide a framework for consulting for our clients, we see these 4 key elements. On the top left, the organizational and process alignment is very important, so that everyone understands the objectives, everyone understands the metrics and the KPIs that will be defined. Is it number of products per household that you want to define as your key criteria for success? Is it longevity of policies in terms of the profitability of the customer? There are various different parameters that are more important to some than others. From an analytics standpoint, how strong is your foundational customer data? And what do you want to do to enhance that? What do you want to do to bring real-time analytics to the table for folks that need to make decisions, whether that be servicing the customer or engaging the customer in the sales process? The social awareness angle has really taken off in terms of the bringing external data and data that your customers are choosing to expose to the world, so that you can make sense of that and you can use that in your sales and servicing processes as well. And then the omni-channel strategy is important to transact with customers where they want to transact with you and where they want to engage with you, and direct them to the right channels that are most meaningful for complex transactions or simply transactions, so that it's also a profitable endeavor for you. So regardless, we see most customers have a CRM strategy that underpins the foundation of all of these initiatives and objectives. And in most cases, it's a Salesforce implementation strategy. So this is really moving to stage 2. What we're doing with customers is providing advisory and adoption services, as well as platform evaluations, to determine what's going to get you the biggest bang for buck in terms of rollout and adoption patterns. And because we have the industry expertise and process consultants, we can do some of that process modeling and process standardization, so that is in place when you endeavor to implement. From the second tier, the application expertise, we talked about this. We have 200 certified experts. We have a global delivery model, but a very strong set of 150 to 200 folks that are certified on Salesforce platforms across service, partner, sales platforms as well. And we're really focused on accelerating these implementations and doing it in a way that helps ensure quality of rollouts. That's where a lot of the testing expertise comes in. It's $1 billion business for us, testing is. And we focused on packages that are widely adopted, such as Salesforce. And what we've done is we've actually gone a step further in innovation and taken an accelerated approach, which I'll show a 1-minute video for, which brings a faster and more efficient way to test Salesforce implementations. It's really about defining the requirements in terms of process models, so that the test case creation is not something that's manual any longer. It's something that can be done as you change your business process. So most of our implementations that we work on are very agile in nature, right? And they continue to evolve over time. And because of that, test case writing and creation and changing those can really take a lot of effort. This takes some of that effort out of the process. It also ensures that you test enough, but not too much, so that there's time and wastage involved. So essentially what we just showed was a business process model, and we have some standard business process models that we have for the Salesforce implementation, particularly on the sales side. And then you can model those and customize those, and those have objects associated with them, expected outcomes and steps. And when you load the model into our utility, you will get test cases generated. Now, they can be exported into any standard testing tool, such as Test Manager from HP, the Rational set of tools, et cetera. And they look the same, right? They have the expected outcomes, the results, the step description, et cetera. And we optimize those so that you have the right amount of test cases, et cetera. Now, why am I showing a demo about this? Why am I talking about this? Because we've been able to drive out 30 to 40% of time and effort of the testing process and actually expand test coverage fairly significantly for Salesforce implementations by doing this. So this is an example of what we're doing from an innovation perspective and what we're doing to ensure that your implementations are successful. So just moving on to the third piece. Sorry. The third piece is all about support and ensuring ROI for the platform. So, one of the challenges, that you can experience is there was a business case put in place, right, to bring this platform in-house, and because of adoption patterns, et cetera, it's not proving itself. So, what we do from not just a managed support perspective is ensure that the platform is up and running and meeting the user's expectations, but that we help evolve that too. So we embed that into each of our managed support services contracts, which is a bit of a differentiator from some others in the industry. Because we have the experts, certified experts in the US and in-house, and we have leveraged services as well from that perspective. So what we see is it's important to have that continuous support model, ticket-based ITSM support model that is predictable with standard SLAs, but it's important to ensure that you're evolving and innovating on the platform as well. And because we are strong, certified across the breadth of Salesforce platforms, we can help you do that. So just to summarize, we can be your partner in all three stages, and what's important is to have a partner that can play in all three phases, is because we get it. We understand the value that you need to drive into key business objectives. We can help define those, and then we can be on the hook for delivering those as well. And I think that's the big differentiator amongst some of the competition in the industry. So we're focusing on accelerating innovation through R&D, and through applying that to our customer engagements, lowering the total cost of ownership of the platform, ensuring continuous improvement and innovation. So we are eager to collaborate and discuss where you are in the journey and how we may be able to help you along that path. Any questions? Be happy to address.